Picture this: the first Tsar of Russia, once celebrated as the genius boy king who would unite a broken land, reduced in the end to a swollen, diseased corpse so foul that priests gagged during his funeral. His skin was blistered, his gums rotting, his bones eaten away by poison, and in the most humiliating twist of fate, the man who had terrorized millions died slumped on a chessboard, vomiting black bile, while terrified courtiers fled the room to escape the smell. Ivan IV, remembered as Ivan the Terrible, did not slip away peacefully. He died consumed by paranoia, eaten alive by disease, and haunted by the ghost of the son he murdered with his own hands. When Ivan came to power in 1547, he was only 16 years old. Tall, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, he was crowned the very first Tsar of all Russia. To many, he seemed like a new Caesar, a Constantine reborn. He could speak eloquently, command armies, and dazzle foreign envoys with his vision. In his early years, Ivan reformed the state, modernized the army, and expanded his empire to the east. Chroniclers called him brilliant, charismatic, unstoppable. Russia believed it had found its shining star. But behind the crown was a boy scarred. At just 8 years old, Ivan had watched nobles, the boyars, starve him, beat him, and spit in his food. He grew up in fear, loneliness, and burning hatred. And when the crown was his, that hatred would explode. The change began with illness. Historians now believe Ivan suffered from chronic syphilis, worsened by the mercury-laced cures doctors forced on him. His bones weakened, his gums bled endlessly, his teeth rotted black, his skin peeled off in patches. Servants wrote of a stench that filled the air when he entered a room. He drenched himself in perfumes, but the rot always bled through. His body was betraying him, and so was his mind. The disease poisoned his brain. What began as brilliance turned to obsession. What began as caution turned to paranoia. Ivan saw traitors everywhere. He created his private army, the Oprichniki, horsemen dressed in black, who rode with dog heads tied to their saddles and severed heads swinging from their belts. They burned towns, slaughtered nobles, and drowned thousands in frozen rivers at Ivan's command. The most infamous moment came in 1570, when Ivan accused the city of Novgorod of treason. For weeks, men, women, and children were dragged from their homes and tied beneath the ice of the Fokhov River. Witnesses wrote of thousands frozen alive while Ivan sat on horseback laughing. But paranoia turned inward. By 1581, his body failing, Ivan became unpredictable. One moment he wept like a child, the next he raged like a beast. In that year, he argued with his eldest son, Ivan Ivanovich, over a woman beaten by the Tsar. In a fit of uncontrollable fury, Ivan struck his son with an iron staff. The skull cracked, blood poured across the palace floor. The heir to the throne lay dying. Ivan the Terrible, realizing what he had done, screamed in horror and clutched the corpse, begging forgiveness. But it was too late. He had murdered his own son and doomed his dynasty. From then on, Ivan deteriorated rapidly. His legs swelled and split open. His teeth fell out. His skin broke into sores that oozed pus. Servants fainted as they changed his sheets, the smell of disease overwhelming even hardened soldiers. He raved at shadows, shouted at ghosts, and demanded executions of men already dead. Chroniclers wrote of a Tsar who babbled nonsense, laughed hysterically at empty air, and wept alone in candlelight. By March 1584, Ivan was grotesque, his face bloated and yellow, his body so swollen he needed help simply to sit. His breath reeked of decay. He could barely speak, his tongue too swollen for his mouth. And then came the end. On March 18th, Ivan sat down to play a game of chess. Suddenly, his hands shook, the pieces scattered, and his body convulsed. He collapsed sideways, vomiting black bile. His eyes rolled back, his swollen chest heaving. Witnesses ran gagging as the stench of death filled the chamber. Within minutes, Ivan the Terrible was dead. But his humiliation did not end there. His corpse swelled grotesquely, turning green and black. Priests stuffed the body with herbs, salt, and vinegar, but the foul odor filled the cathedral during his funeral. Even in death, he reeked of rot and corruption. Centuries later, when scientists opened his grave, they found bones saturated with mercury, skull cracks from disease, and traces of poison that had slowly destroyed him from within. The boy who dreamed of greatness ended bloated, diseased, and insane. The first Tsar of Russia, who built an empire, died haunted, rotting, and humiliated. Ivan the Terrible did not simply die. He decayed.